Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and I'm here to react to my 2020 BookTube goals and then talk about 2021. Obviously this year was not what anyone was expecting, and to be honest, I haven't looked back at what my goals were for this year since I recorded them last year. I have the vague sense that I had 3 goals, and I know one of them was to read fewer books this year, which depending on how many books I read last year, I might have achieved and I might have just not achieved. So we're gonna find out together. I will let you see what Kathy from the past thought was going to happen. Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and I'm back in my childhood bedroom turned into a sewing room to talk to you about my 2020 BookTube goals. I had thought that maybe I did this video last year, but I scrolled back through my video feed and it doesn't look like I did, unless I put it in like a different video as kind of a side note. The good thing about a goal video like that not existing is that I don't have to look back on it and be like, oh yeah, I meant to do all of these things that I definitely didn't do. That's why with the goals I'm going to set today, I think that all of them are doable and I think that all of them are going to be good for me. There's also no goals that are completely out of my hands. For example, I'm not putting a goal as to exactly how many subscribers I'll have at the end of 2020 because I have no actual control over that. Good plan, because yeah, I knew that I didn't want to put any like subscriber goals. As Past Me is about to explain, I have no control over that. I can keep making my videos and making the content that I like and try to make engaging content and try to just basically be in this community and be a valuable part of it, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to get subscribers. And I don't want to completely bum myself out by the end of the year by not getting to an arbitrary number. Speaking of not bumming myself out by getting to an arbitrary number, let's talk about the amount of books I want to read. Last year, I read 237 books. This year, so far, I'm at 267 books. Did I just say 267? Is that a number that No. Oh no. Is that a number I actually read? Let's actually look at my spreadsheet because what? Will Goodreads tell me what I read last year? I thought my past 2 previous years were 237 and 219, and if I read 267 last year, that is too many. Goodreads, you are useless. Okay, let's go to my spreadsheet. I must, if it is 267, I must have completely, it was 269. Oh my god, it was 269, wasn't it? I completely blanked that out of my head. Yeah, okay, so last year was 269 at the end. I thought that I just had to not beat 237, but I had to not beat 269, which, good, I didn't. I read fewer than that this year, which is good. But let's continue. Next year, I want to read less books. I know that sounds counterintuitive, especially because I'm so close to 300, which is a ridiculous number. But I'm starting to worry about burnout and the possibility that I'll just be reading books to get to a number instead of reading books to enjoy them and engage with them. That being said, I'm not putting it down to a number. I'm not saying I'm only reading 100 books next year because that seems silly to me. Even though 100 is always my Goodreads goal, I always fly by that in like May or June. I just figure if I get to the end of 2020 and I've read a similar amount of books or more, then I probably haven't been able to really engage with them as much as I want to this year. That definitely. Even this year, even with the 220 something, because I'm in the 220s, I can't remember the actual number, even with this year being what it was, 220 seemed like a lot. And there were certain points where I just wanted to finish things. Sometimes it was because I wasn't overly enjoying the book, but I was reading for a readathon, or sometimes it was just because I felt like I needed to, because if I didn't read enough for a weekly wrap-up, I thought that I was failing anybody who actually watches those videos, which is just silly. That rolls into my second goal, which is to do some reviews as well as doing wrap-ups. I can think of one review I did, but I also started a different type of video, which I think is actually my 3rd goal. So no, I did at least 2 reviews. Reviews like of just one book in a whole video is still a new thing to me. It's still something I'm crafting, but technically I fulfilled that goal by doing at least 2 of them. I wrap up every single thing I read. However, there's obviously going to be some books in there that I will want to talk more deeply about and actually review, and that's not something I really know how to do at this point. it. At this point I give tiny reviews so you sort of understand where my standing on a book was, but I don't really deep dive into what worked and what didn't for me, and that's a skill I want to learn and utilize in 2020. Additionally, let's talk reading vlogs, because I would like to do more of them. The ones I currently do are for readathons, and they tend to be week-long reading vlogs, and in those reading vlogs I never really tell you that much about the specific book. And the reason for that is I tend to be reading like 7 books, so I don't have time to deep dive into all of them in one video. The other reason is I don't want to spoil things for people, so I don't want you to come into this week-long reading vlog and have me spoil plot points for 7 different books. What I've decided to do in 2020 is what I'm calling spectacular standalones. Yes, and I did do this. I did 3 videos. I will link that playlist down below. I really like doing this, but it is a lot of work. But I really like doing it, so I'm gonna have to find some more books to do this specifically on. I'm also planning on something new in 2021, which I haven't announced yet, so I'm very excited about that. But it is another type of reading vlog that I think is gonna be cool, where I will do a reading vlog of a standalone book. So if you have any suggestions you want me to start with, please let me know down below. I already have a list going, but I can definitely add to it. That way, in that reading vlog, you know what book I'm going to read, you know what book I'm going to be discussing, and you can figure out whether or not you want spoilers, because I will discuss it as I go. My final goal might seem a little bit counterintuitive when we talk about the BookTube community, which is very much about consuming as many things as possible and creating as many interesting videos as possible. What I want to do is focus on some breaks for self-care. I didn't particularly take any breaks, like I never want to take a break from YouTube, at least doing my weekly content, but I feel like I did a pretty decent job of taking care of myself this year. I still put out over 100 videos this year. But obviously this year was a little bit different and I had a little bit more time to do these types of things, and I was having fun creating the content instead of feeling like I needed to create the content, which has never been the case, but I always worry it's going to become the case. So breaks for self-care, I did a decent amount of self-care, as was very important this year, but I didn't like take any big breaks to do it because I had more time to do it, I guess. Reading has always been something that I do for myself to basically take a break from life, but for the past year or so I've been experiencing pain on and off in the muscles in my left side, and that's something I need to work on addressing more, especially because some reading postures definitely exacerbate it. There are already a lot of things I'm doing to manage this chronic pain, but I think that my very first goal of reading fewer books this year is definitely going to help me with the self-care, especially because I will remember to take 20 minutes out of my day that would have been reading time to do something that is going to help, like doing some stretches or some yoga. I did do this, by this I mean yoga, for about the first, I want to say 5 or 6 months of the year before I just got to the point where I was not enjoying doing it and I just couldn't get myself to just go do yoga because I wasn't enjoying it. I was following the monthly playlist put out by somebody who does yoga on YouTube, but it got to a point where one of the playlists came out and there was meditation thrown in there, and I was like, that's not what I want. I want to just be able to stretch things so that they don't hurt, and I got out of the habit of like where in the playlist I was, because I was just doing, you know, the first video on day 1 of the month, second video on day 2 of the month, and then it was all kind of weird and it fell apart. I wasn't enjoying doing it. I know it's something I should be doing for myself. It is something I try to remember to do, but I'm no longer doing it in a regimented format, which I probably should, but I don't want to, even though I want to gain the health benefits. Or goodness forbid that I remember to take a water break, because that is something I struggle with, especially in the cold months. Because when it's cold out, I don't want to get up for water. Water is cold. I don't want to be colder. I want to be cozy with my book and a blanket. Yeah, okay, so I've gotten okay at getting water, but mostly just the past couple of weeks because I now have a sit-down job at my laptop, so I make sure when I sit down in the morning I always have water. I've got water alarms set. I'm still not great at drinking my water, but I'm working on it at least. And that was the end of that video, so that happened. Okay. Before we go any further, I just also want to acknowledge this mug. The image on this mug was my first fan art from they_illustrate on Instagram, and my roommate made it into a mug for me for Christmas, which is just kind of the best thing ever, because it's me sitting in front of this wall, and then it's me sitting in front of this wall with this mug of me sitting in front of this wall, which I love it. As for specific goals for 2021 and what I want to do on my BookTube channel, I want to do a lot more of the same. I'm going to continue doing my weekly wrap-ups. I've been doing them for 4 years. They aren't the videos that get the most views on my channel, but they are something that keeps me really loving what I'm doing and making sure that I am checking in with the community, and I love them for that. I do them for me. Other people sometimes watch them, and that's nice. I also just started a new notebook. I wrote down all of the books that I have physical copies of in my library downstairs that I have not read yet, so that I can make sure to be mindful of trying to include those on TBRs. That's about 113 or 14, I think. Then I also have some prompts written down for some yearly challenges. The first is the Buzzword Readathon. Every month this year has a prompt, and I have actually written down a book for every single month, following all of those prompts, so I'm excited for that. The next year-long challenge is the Read Harder challenge. This is something I've been interested in doing every year, but then I never write it down and I never refer back to the list, and then I don't end up doing it. This is an interesting list, and I'll link it down below. I have a couple of things decided as to what I'm going to be reading, but a lot of them I'm still wondering what I'm going to be reading for the challenges. And then of course I already have written down for Read Your Shelves, which is happening all throughout January, and I'm going to want to read as many books as I can from my own personal library, which it's helpful that I wrote them all down so I can think about the book and what it might fit in these categories. I'm also, of course, working on my TBR for the Rent Readathon, which is happening the 17th to the 23rd. As I alluded to earlier, there is also a new series that I will be starting on my channel. I don't quite have everything in place to announce it yet, but it is another type of reading vlog. It is very specific in its content, and I really like the title I came up with for it, but it would be a spoiler as to what the reading vlogs would be, so I can't tell you yet. But rest assured, I will be announcing that as soon as I can. As for goals as to how many books I'll read this year, I want to keep it around what I did this year. I definitely don't want to surpass the 269 from last year that I completely forgot happened. I don't know at this point how much of that breakdown I just had while I was watching the video is going to make it through editing, but I completely forgot. I thought I just had to not get to 237. I'm fine, I didn't do that. As for other goals, in addition to my new secret project that I can't tell you about, I think I'm going to want to do at least one new type of video this year. I just haven't decided what format that's going to be and what I want it to be. However, obviously, if you know this channel, I'm still going to be doing probably way too many readathons because I love doing TBRs, I love fulfilling the prompts, all of those types of things. So I will be looking out for new readathons in the future. I'll do some old favorites again, assuming they're happening this year. And all in all, I'm really excited to go into this next year of my BookTube adventure. That's it for this video. What book would you like me to read in 2021? Let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you're here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you're on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I recently set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that is down below, as well as the link to my PayPal if you prefer that, and my Amazon wishlist in case you would like to buy me a book. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!